Book of Exodus, chapter 11, death of the firstborn announced. And the Lord said to Moses, I will bring one more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. Afterward, he will let you go from here. When he lets you go, he will surely drive you out of here altogether. Speak now in the hearing of the people, and let every man ask from his neighbor, and every woman from her neighbor, articles of silver and articles of gold. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. Then Moses said, Thus says the Lord, about midnight I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the female servant who is behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of the animals. Then there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as not was like this before, nor shall it be like it again. But against none of the children of Israel shall a dog move its tongue against man or beast, that you may know that the Lord does make a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And all these your servants shall come down to me and bow down to me, saying, Get out, and all the people who follow you. After that I will go out. Then he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. But the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will not heed you, so that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. So Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened the Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the children of Israel go out of his land. Origins of the Passover meal, Exodus 12:8. Certain elements of the Passover ritual can be traced to ceremonies that celebrated the new agricultural year in farming cultures. These elements include a sacrifice to be eaten by the community, the eating of the new crop, bitter herbs, unleavened bread, thanksgiving for not dying during the period between harvests, and, of course, a new start. The Israelites would have known about these celebrations from farming in the Nile Delta. God revealed through Moses a new meaning for the Israelite meal. Now, the feast would symbolize salvation from Egyptian slavery and from death. The angel of death passed over the houses of the Israelites when he killed the firstborn of the Egyptians. The meal was to be prepared and eaten in haste, with the people ready to leave at a moment's notice. There was not time for bread to rise or for meat to be cooked slowly, so the lamb was to be roasted quickly over the fire. To this day, the Passover Seder is celebrated by all Jewish families throughout the world. It is prepared and eaten according to the rules of Exodus 12. As the meal is eaten, the story of Passover is related, not as something which happened long ago to ancestors, but always as happening now. It is now that God brings every person who partakes of the meal to freedom and to salvation. The feast establishes identity. We're the people of God because God did these things for us, anticipating the coming of God's Messiah. Jewish tradition added to the service a place at the table for Elijah, should the prophet come this year to proclaim the advent of the Messiah. Now, the chapter 12, the Passover instituted. Now the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be your beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, On the 10th of this month, every man shall take for himself a lamb, according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the persons. According to each man's need, you shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. Now you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. Then the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it at twilight. And they shall take some of the blood and put it on the two doorposts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it. And they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire, with unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Do not eat it raw, nor boiled at all with the water, but roasted in fire, its head with its legs and its entrails. You shall let none of it remain until morning, and what remains of it until morning you shall burn with a fire. And thus you shall eat it with a belt on your waist, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. So you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt on that night, and will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. Now the blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be on you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. So this day shall be to you a memorial, and you shall keep it as a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it as a feast by an everlasting ordinance. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that person shall be cut off from Israel. On the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and on the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation for you. No manner of work shall be done on them, but that which everyone must eat, that only may be prepared by you. So you shall observe the feast of the unleavened bread, for on this same day I will have brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as an everlasting ordinance. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. For 7 days no leaven shall be found in your houses, since whoever eats what is leavened, that same person shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel. Whether he is a stranger or a native of the land, you shall eat nothing leavened. In all your dwellings you shall eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said to them, Pick out and take lambs for yourselves according to your families, and kill the Passover lamb. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two doorposts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out of the door of his house until morning. For the Lord will pass through to strike the Egyptians, and when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the two doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door and not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to strike you. And you shall observe this thing as an ordinance for you and your sons forever. It will come to pass when you come to the land which the Lord will give you, just as he promised, that you shall keep this service. And it shall be, when your children say to you, what do you mean by this service? That you shall say, it is the Passover sacrifice of the Lord, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he struck the Egyptians and delivered our households. So the people bowed their heads and worshipped. Then the children of Israel went away and did so, just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. The 10th plague, death of the firstborn. And it came to pass at midnight that the Lord struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of livestock. So Pharaoh rose in the night, he, all his servants, and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. The Exodus. Then he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, Rise, go out from among my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord as you have said. Also take your flocks and your herds as you have said, and be gone and bless me also. And the Egyptians urged the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, We shall all be dead. So the people took their dough before it was leavened, having their kneading bowls bound up in their clothes on their shoulders. Now the children of Israel had done according to the word of Moses, and they had asked from the Egyptians articles of silver, articles of gold, and the clothing. And the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they granted them what they requested. Thus they plundered the Egyptians. Egypt and its gold, Exodus 12:35-36. Gold and silver were considered precious metals from the beginning of history. In Egyptian society, the king or pharaoh, as he was called, had the power to concentrate wealth for himself. According to Egyptian custom, when kings or queens were buried, their treasure went with them into the ground. This custom sometimes allows us to see from an Egyptian tomb what kind of wealth the deceased ruler possessed, of which gold was usually included. Such was the case when archaeologists discovered the tomb of the Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun with its treasure intact. The tomb contained all kinds of furniture, clothing, and other articles. The coffin of the king himself was made of solid gold, about 1/8 inch thick, and was over 6 feet long, weighing 243 pounds, or about 4 talents. The wealth of Tutankhamun's tomb is indicative of the wealth that the Hebrews must have observed while in Egypt. Tutankhamun became king in 1336 BC, which places him about 100 years before or after the Hebrew exodus from Egypt. The date of the exodus is debated, but scholars locate it at either 1446 BC or later around 1275 BC. When the Hebrews had an opportunity to take something of Egypt with them, Egyptian gold must have been hard to resist. Transition, the Exodus begun. The actual date of the Exodus has been much debated. The two most frequently proposed possibilities are about 200 years apart. One, in the 15th century BC, during the reign of Thutmose III, and the second, in the 13th century BC, under Ramesses II. The 15th century date fits the numbers given in 1 Kings 6:1, which places the Exodus 480 years before Solomon's temple, which would be about 1446 BC. A 13th century date, around 1275 BC, seems to better fit other evidence, the building of the city of Ramesses mentioned in Exodus 1:11, but requires understanding the 480 years of 1 Kings as a symbolic number. Both dates place the Exodus in times of clear Egyptian supremacy, however, and this may be the essential point. The fact that the book of Exodus does not name the Egyptian king, the very fact that so frustrates historians, is peculiarly appropriate in a book that tells how the ruler of the world's greatest empire is humbled before the mighty arm of Israel's God. Amen. This is the end of the Bible reading today. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day. God bless you, and see you tomorrow again.